reasons yet to be determined, the bodies of the recently deceased are returning to life and attacking the living. The scope of this...
Alright, hello everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? How's everybody's weekend going so far? Pretty good?
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, where are you at, Negation?
I'm in San Francisco right now.
Nice. Oh, you're... And Dave, you live in San Francisco, don't you? Right near there?
I am in San Francisco.
What's that?
I am in San Francisco. Negation, where are you?
We're actually downtown at the Hyatt Regency.
Funny.
Oh, you guys should have got together and you should just did video. That'd been awesome.
Yeah, we should have. Damn, I didn't even know. I knew you were out here, but I didn't know it was San Francisco. So.
Oh, that's great. Guys, we have David Fitzgerald. A great guy. He was on the show before. This is his second time on the show. We'll go over the Skeptic fence part when we get there, and we have a few questions that we're going to ask him. Right now, we're going to do the news segment. What we're going to be talking about tonight is polls. America is getting more progressive. The second one is the NSA Whistleblower. Everyone in the U.S. under virtual surveillance. And we got Bill O'Reilly blames gay abortion for the war on Christmas. The Mayan apocalypse is coming, gay marriage in the Supreme Court. And we have, last one we'll be talking about is ban on gay conversion therapy put on hold in California. So we'll get into those topics. You want to go over your little spiel there?
Yeah. Everybody just remember this. We'll be rebroadcast on YouTube. We're taping it for later posting, so anyone that does decide to come on, you are allowing us to use your likeness without flagging us for DMCA. So let's go.
Exactly. Guys, here's a Skype contact. I'll also put up in the title bar. Last 45 minutes of show is a live call-in show. If you have any questions for the panel, any questions for David Fitzgerald, send them to either me or Negation of P in chat if you don't want to come online, if you don't want to come on Skype with us, and we'll get you guys on. So send a contact request, and in that contact request, please put the gist of what you wish to talk about, any comments or any kind of statements you would like to make to the panel. And then we'll get you on. So I say let's get on to our first topic. Let's move on.
Sounds good. Go.
Let's do it.
Rock and roll. Here we go.
Now, what do I tell you all the time? What do I tell you? I tell you that it's a progressive country, right? And then, it's, you know, whenever I say it on other people's programs or something, I'm on television or radio, they're like, what? A country center-left? No, you're crazy, man. I hear on television all the time, it's center-right, center-right. It's a right-wing country. Really? That's interesting. Well, let's take a look at the polls and see how that turned out. First of all, on marijuana legalization, 51-44, our side. We're winning big time. In fact, when you look at people under the age of 30, we are crushing. 2/3 of the country under the age of 30 favor legalization. Now, here's who we're not crushing with, but it's a sad day for them because TikTok. Voters over the age of 65 years old. Is that wrong? 35% support legalization. Okay? Okay, we're not winning with 65-year-olds on the issue of pot, but don't worry, the tide is turning in our direction. Look, not only is the country progressive, it's continuing to get more and more progressive. For example, on gay marriage, we're winning, 48-46. But to give you a sense of how much the tide has swung, just 4 years ago, in 2008, those numbers were dramatically reversed. They were 55% were against and 36% were in favor. So we were down by about 19 points there. Now we're up by 2 points. The country is progressive and getting more progressive by the minute. By the way, you know, that's true of all of our history. We never go back to being more conservative. It's not like, hey, after we freed the slaves, you know what, we got a little bit more conservative and then put them back in bondage. No. After civil rights, did we say, hey, you know what, that whole thing about integration, that was a bad idea, let's split the races again? No. After we gave the women the right to vote, did we turn around and go, no, let's take that right away? No, we continue to be more and more progressive throughout time because that is it's a center-left country, it is a progressive country. The whole point of the country is that it's progressive, that it rebelled against the conservative monarchy. The liberals were Washington and Jefferson and Franklin and all of those guys. So we continue to go towards progressive positions. Now, I would say from time to time, if I found any polls at all that were where the country was not with progressives, sometimes it'd be on immigration. Not anymore. 57% of voters think undocumented immigrants should be allowed to stay and seek citizenship. I'm surprised by how large that number is. And then, you want to see a large number, 70% support President Obama's plan to help young undocumented immigrants that were brought into this country when they were younger stay in this country. The country is fundamentally progressive. So when they tell you otherwise on TV, they're lying to you. Look issue by issue. And you already know, over 3/4 of the country in favor of protecting Social Security and Medicare at all costs. They don't care if the budget's in a disaster. They don't want you to cut those programs. They love those programs. And also, over 70% of the country say, enough is enough. Raise tax on the rich. Enough is enough. Let's get out of Afghanistan. The country is center-left on almost every issue.
Amazing, amazing. This is a big topic for us. Basically, you know, how I look at it, basically it's just social activism. You know, it's helping with the progressive issues. You know, when you go into a conservative issue, like you go back into 2009, a statistic I pulled, 72% of the people opposed gay marriage. But now we have, what, 53 or 54% now. So when you have the conservative right saying, hey, listen, we're against this because of this reason, we're against this, this is not right. They try to hinder the advancement of civil rights, human rights, just equality in general when it comes to certain issues. But you know what happens when you become so conservative? You have people that are activists, social activists out there like us, and we just push the button and say, hey, listen, this is not right. We have to be all for equality on certain issues or most issues. So what happens is, you know, you got these percentages that just go up and up and up and up and up and up, and then you have the majority now, not the minority, the majority now agreeing to, like, say, with gay marriage. Now it's a progressive issue, you know, and we just progress forward on certain issues now. Now, if the conservatives didn't hinder the process on a lot of issues, I mean, like, seriously, I think there'll be gay marriage probably a couple decades ago. So, negation, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that, I mean, I love the polls. I love what the vast majority of people seem to be leaning toward. The thing that I don't like is when you look at the actual implementation from Washington and even at the state levels on a lot of the states, it's not reflected there. And why we see that is just like Cenk was saying, who runs the country? Who is in power there? Well, it is the 65 and older still in power. And even though, you know, this is one of my biggest problems with Obama, that, you know, he came in basically saying that if a state decided that it wanted to make marijuana legal, at least medical marijuana, he would not impede that or step on anybody's toes. In reality, he has been more aggressive with drug enforcement than Bush was. So, you know, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I think the country, and sooner or later, the politicians aren't going to have a choice. They're going to have to get on board, or they're going to get voted out. But what's actually happening right now, it's kind of disappointing.
It's just with those stats, which is pretty cool. I would call it, like, this is what I would call is like generational progressives. So I think it's just generational, especially when you look, say, under the age of 29 or 30, you know, they're very progressive, you know, 70, 75% or 80% are progressives. You know, they worry. They approve of the issues when it comes to marijuana, the gay issue, gay marriage, you know, so on and so forth. And, you know, that's basically what it boils down to. And you got to remember, I hate to say this, and you know, we do talk about religion on here, but, you know, most human and civil rights, you know, in past history are hindered by religious ideology when you come down to it, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
every social issue you can think of. That's true.
Yeah, and it's just, you know, for the most part, you know, but, you know, I hate to generalize, but, you know. You got anything to say on this, David, or no?
Well, and it's tricky because you can't blame religion on everything, because for every social issue you've also got religious people fighting against other religious people on the exact same issue. Yeah,
and you do have religious people that are actually for gay rights and they're for abortion or pro-choice, I should say. And you know, there's a lot of religious people out there for marijuana, they're for abortion, you know, they're you know, stuff like that, you know, and just, you know, it's just, you know, you can't really pinpoint. That's why I say most people, most religious people, or most religious ideologies that people believe hinders the process.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not trying to generalize saying all people, but, you know, yeah, you got the people that do support certain issues too, religious or even non-religious, because you have a lot of people that are non-religious that are actually, you know, secular humanists, where they'll say, yeah, well, yeah, I'm pro-choice, or pro-life, I should say, not pro-choice, pro-life, and they're pro-lifers, you know. You know, you just got different sides of the spectrum on each issue. So, anything else on this?
It's exciting to see religious people becoming more progressive-minded in a way that wasn't even thinkable, you know, 20 or 30 years ago.
Exactly, and I totally agree. Like I said, I think it's generational when it comes to being progressive. You I just think younger generation are just opening their mind up a little bit more, and I think the internet has a lot to do with it. With social media outlets and stuff. So anything else on this, David, or negation? We'll move on to the next topic.
That's good.
You're live, that's for sure.
Sweet. This topic I'm not too familiar with, but I understand where it's going, but I've never really researched this topic, but it seems like it's a hot button issue, and I think Negation knows a lot about this, because I think this was one of the ones that you really want to play. Let's see here. It's NSA Whistleblower, everyone in U.S. under virtual surveillance. So let's get to this one. It's a really good one.
My guest today is William Binney, a whistleblower, former National Security Agency official. He was one of the first to reveal the agency's massive domestic spying program. Mr. Binney revealed that NSA sought and received access to telecommunications companies' domestic and international billing records, that it has intercepted somewhere between 15 to 20 trillion communications. Mr. Binney also claims that in order to cover its warrantless surveillance, the agency concealed it under the patriotic-sounding name Terrorist Surveillance Program. Mr. Binney, thank you so much for coming. In light of the Petraeus/Allen scandal, while the public is so focused on the details of their family drama, one may argue that the real scandal in this whole story is the power, the reach of the surveillance state. I mean, if we take General Allen, thousands of his personal emails have been sifted through private correspondence. I mean, it's not like any of those men was planning an attack on America. Does this scandal prove the notion that there is no such thing as privacy in a surveillance state?
Well, yes, that's what I've been basically saying for quite some time, is that the FBI has access to the data collected, which is basically the emails of virtually everybody in the country, and the FBI has access to it. All the congressional members are on the surveillance too. It's not, no one's excluded. They're all included. So yes, this can happen to anyone if they become a target for whatever reason. If they are targeted by the government can go in, or the FBI or other agencies of the government can go into that database, pull all that data they've collected on them over the years, and reanalyze it all. So retroactively analyze everything they've done over the last 10 years at least.
And it's not just about those who could be planning, who could be a threat to national security, but also those who could be just...
It's everybody. I thought the NARIS device simply takes in the entire line. So it takes all the data. In fact, they advertise. The way they advertise, they can process the lines at session rates, which means 10 gigabit lines. That's the NARIS, not the STA6400, but the, I forget the name of it. There's another device that they have that does that, but it does it at 10 gigabits. 10 gigabits. That's why they're building Bluffdale, because they have to have more storage because they can't figure out what's important, so they're just storing everything there. So all that email is going to be stored there for the future, but right now it's stored in different places around the country. But it is being collected and FBI has access to it.
You mean it's being collected in bulk without even requesting the providers? And then what about Google, releasing this biannual transparency report and saying that the government's demands for personal data is at an all-time high, and for all of those requests in the U.S., Google says they complied with the government's demands 90% of the time, but they're still saying that they're making the requests. It's not like it's all being funneled into that storage. What do you say to that?
Well, I would assume that that's just simply another source of the same data that they're already collecting. Mark Klein, in his declarations in the court about the AT&T facility in San Francisco, documented the NSA room inside that AT&T facility where they had NARIS devices to collect data off the fiber optic lines inside the United States. So that's kind of a powerful device that would collect everything that was being sent. It could collect on the order of over 100 billion 1,000 character emails a day. One device. So that gives you an idea of the magnitude of the kind of collection that's going on.
Well, you're saying they sift through, those are billions of emails. Yep. I wonder how do they prioritize? I mean, is it like foreign nationals first? What's the, how do they prioritize? How do they filter it?
I don't think well, first of all, I don't think there's any filtering. They're just going to store it all, okay? So then it's just a matter of selecting it when you want it. So if they wanted to target you, they would take your attributes and go into that database and pull out all your data.
That's what I was going to ask. Are they reading my Gmail? I don't know. I should say there is no Afghanistan general in my mailbox. I know. Do you think now that I said that, they will stop looking into my mailbox?
I don't think that would make any difference, no. If they had you on the target list, you're on the list.
So there you have it. So, Negation, what do you got on this real quick for this one?
Yeah, pretty scary, guys. I mean, if you think about it, 10 years ago, if somebody would have come out like this, no one would have listened to them. It's conspiracy nuts. It's, there's no way we could do this. Now it's real. I mean, it actually, it looks like it's going on. Without getting into anything that I probably shouldn't be getting into. When he was saying there's not filters out there, he's absolutely wrong. There are certain keywords and phrases, even if you text to another person, I guarantee you the system will automatically flag that and report it.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's all based on, like I said, phraseology. I know for sure texts do it. I'm not 100% sure if they've got it to the point where they could do it like what we're doing right now, or over a phone call. It would surprise me if email didn't have that ability, especially it looks like they're able to store it now. But this is probably, at least in my opinion, one of the worst infringements on freedom and privacy that has ever happened in the history of the planet.
Yeah, it's a constitutional issue, correct? Yeah, it would be. It would have to be, right? Invasion of privacy.
The thing that infuriates me about it is not so much that is going on, because after 9/11, we allowed the floodgates to come open, and I mean, this is kind of, I don't want to say it was inevitable, but it was definitely something that was on the horizon that we could have seen coming and maybe stopped, but regardless, the big thing that bothers me about it is where are the news agencies on this? We're going to cover, the Queen, the Prince and his wife had to go to the frickin' hospital, and it's, the world stops. But this type of stuff, you would think, Fox with their constitutional why aren't they all over this? Why aren't the networks saying anything about this type of thing? So
I mean, like, you look in like everyday situation, like all the cameras they're putting on the lamppost now. Just on just on that aspect, I'll get a ticket in the mail. Oh, you made a left on a green light because you didn't stop before the green light. Look and then go. Like if I drifted through a fucking green light to make a left, they take pictures. And then you get a ticket in the mail. It's like, come on, man. It's like it's like a police state, man. It's like it's just amazing. And then they're talking about the drones in the United States, having spy drones in the air and shit like that. And there's a lot of other issues too, man. Just
wait, be clear about it. They're not talking about it. They're doing it.
Well, they are doing it. Yeah.
That's my field. That's what That's what I do. My last trade magazine that I got. Oh yeah, the cover. I wish I had it. If I was at the house, I'd take a screenshot of it. The cover is literally talking about where you can go to college to become a civilian pilot of the. Oh yeah. So no, that isn't coming. That's here. They're looking. The FAA has already cleared most of the hurdles to do it. It's not like something that's got any real roadblocks out there at all. I mean, no one's having any problems with it. And as far as the street surveillance, I mean, we have a lot of people from at least the UK. They're riddled with that. I don't think there's any place in the UK that you can pretty much go, at least if it's metropolitan area, that you're not watched damn near 24/7. Anybody that in the blog there, correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure that it's very pervasive. On one hand, it's a great thing because the criminals know it, and there's going to be less. You're going to be less. I would assume you would have the muggings go down, and I guess to some extent the rapes and that type of thing. But again, like you said, are you going to start getting tickets for jaywalking now? I don't know.
We had the issue with Sopa and Pippa too, if I remember correctly. I think they both got turned down, didn't they? It's privacy issues, man. And you know what? Yeah, they'll get away with it. They'll be secretive about it. There's nothing basically we really do unless something happens to you. They just said like the Petraeus thing. They had all that information on Petraeus. It just in that issue.
Well, that was the last thing I was going to do on this. Is if you have to understand, he was the director of the CIA.
Yeah.
Now, if that's not, you would think if there was one person in the world that would have let's say classified phone or a classified email, it would be him. Like I said, I understand classified material and all that type of thing. Trust me, to get into one of those classified places, you're not walking in. But to find out that it doesn't matter if you walk in because they're tapping it downstream away from the secure facility, I don't see how this doesn't impede on all kinds of things, including national security issues. But, hey, it's, I guess it is what it is.
Yeah, it is. David, you got anything to say on this?
It's just it's one of those things where it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think eventually it is going to come out. The Constitution, the Supreme Court's going to have to rule on it. But who knows what the hell they're going to get away with in the meantime? And will we ever be certain that they're not doing it behind our backs? It's one of those frustrating things that once the genie's out of the bottle, how do you put it back in?
Yeah, true. It's a good analogy. Yeah, it does suck though, man. But guys, yeah, man, just watch what you say in your emails and text messages and stuff like that, man.
Well, like he said, what it looks like primarily they're doing on normal people is unless you're texting something really stupid like we're gonna bomb exactly. today, I don't think it's gonna flag it. But if you do get in trouble,
and then you made that in the past, they can bring up your past, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Since they're archiving all of this stuff,
man,
all they would have to do is go back and say, okay, we've got you on this. Let's see what else you did in the past.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
The thing that I think may stop this, the only thing that I think there might be a huge backlash of people that actually can make a difference is the first time someone uses the information that's archived to cost another politician the election. If they can get access to it and use it, all of the skeletons in the closet come out at that point. I think that's the only way it's actually we're going to start to turn the corner.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point on that. Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. All right, it's 8:30. We ran a little behind. Sorry, guys, we ran a little behind tonight because Negation was getting set up in his room, and I was having some technical difficulties. I had to restart the computer and exploit a few times, but we're good to go. So, anything else we want to say on this? And we'll move on to O'Reilly blames gays abortion for the war on Christmas, which is going to be a good topic.
No, I don't have anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is a funny one, man. I'm like, Bill Riley, at it again. Basically, he's saying that Christianity was not a religion, which is just it's so funny. But yeah, let's go see what he has to say now on this topic. This is a good one here.
Bill O'Reilly is refusing to give up the whole war on Christmas thing. He figures he's written it out for like 7 years now. Why not go another month or two? And so he had some guests on to talk about what he thinks is really underlying the war on Christmas. But first he reiterates his position, so let's go to that.
They're denying on the left, many of them, our pal Jon Stewart being among them, that there is any war on Christmas at all. I'm making it all up. I'm fabricating. I actually think that I'm like Jeff Dunham. I'm a ventriloquist forcing the governor of Rhode Island to call it a holiday tree. He really didn't say that. I made him say it.
Right. Well, yeah, you know what? And of course, yeah, they're saying that. They want to deny it because they don't want you to fight it.
Wow, did they get that guy from Area 51?
So, War on Aliens, but yeah, that was a different movie. Okay, so look, no one, I don't know if Bill O'Reilly knows this, but no one has actually said from our side, we would like to do a war on Christmas.
Yeah.
Our side being the secular side, right? Not that we're not Christians, some of us are, right? I'm not, but some of us are. It's just we think, hey, you know what? We should separate church and state. By the way, privately, we all call it a Christmas tree. And we think we should call it a Christmas tree, and I don't know anybody who's ever called it a holiday tree. Yeah. Right? That's not the point. The point is that Chafee, for example, is the governor of Rhode Island, right? So he can't say to the Jews in Rhode Island, the atheists in Rhode Island, the Buddhists in Rhode Island, I don't give a damn about you. I'm setting up a Christmas tree. I'm setting up Christmas left and right. And if you don't like it, get out of Rhode Island, because that would be kind of against the point of the United States of America. Yeah. So he says, well, I didn't make this up. No, but you did make it up. There is no war. It's not like Chafee called us and Rachel Maddow was like, when do we launch? It's not a concerted effort. It's just trying to actually be a decent human being to all your citizens.
There's a war on Christmas in the same way that in America has a war on obesity.
We don't.
I think that he's both right and wrong. I mean, we are engaged in a war on something. It's just not Christmas. Mm-hmm. It's the attempts of Christianity to push itself on us. And the problem is, it's very similar to what's happened politically between the left and the right over like the last 10 and 20 years. It's a problem of goalposts. That it's not Christians have their religion, atheists don't have their religion, and that's where it is. The goalposts that he thinks are natural are, we're pushing it on you, and if you fight back, that's a problem, that's a war, what are you doing? And we want to get back to equilibrium, where you go in your house and you have your Christmas, but I don't have to if I'm outside of a federal court.
Well, you know, what about the people who say, they get upset when people say Happy Holidays, right? And that, to me, that's the equivalent, or my friend Todd always says, to me, that's the equivalent of you calling everybody Bob. You know, it's like, if you say Merry Christmas, well, he's a Jew. It doesn't matter, I'm saying Merry Christmas. Yeah, hey, your name's Ted, I'm going to call you Bob. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to call you Bob. Yeah. Because that's what I feel good about. It's like, well, that's rude, because that guy's name isn't Bob, his name is Ted. Why wouldn't you use his name? And this guy's not a Christian. Why wouldn't you just say Happy Holidays? You're being a dick. Right?
And it's so factually accurate.
It's more of a war on holidays. It's more of a war on dickishness. And it is, right? That's really what it is.
And look, again, to this point, right? So I bought a Christmas tree early this year, and I start listening to Christmas songs about 5 weeks out. And you know, when you get into my car, you're bombarded by Happy Holidays. Well, that's wrong. Like, you know, but anyway, okay. And Jesus and JR borrowed my car the other day. Jesus borrowed it, so then I come back and it's heavy rock music, right? I mean, it's such a stereotype. His nickname is Rock and Roll Jesus, right? And huge rock music, metal like Death and Mega something, right? And then JR borrows a car and he comes back and it's a hip hop station. And every time I flip it back to Christmas songs, I love Christmas songs. Yeah. But if I was governor, I wouldn't make people listen to Christmas songs. And even though I put up a Christmas tree, even though I'm agnostic, okay, and I like Santa, but I wouldn't shove Santa down people's throats either. I wouldn't be like, you have to like Santa as much as I do, okay? Where's the goddamn gifts? Because I would be the governor of everybody. You see that? It's a simple understanding.
Bill O'Reilly, he has an idea of why we're engaged in this war, actually. Let's listen to his argument.
So it has to do with, at the root of it, it has to do with two things: abortion and the gay rights agenda, because Christianity is against those things, and it's subtle, but that's why that's why it's so pronounced in recent years, in my opinion.
100% agree. I absolutely agree 100% that it's the diminishment of Christianity is the target and Christmas is the vehicle, because the secularists know their opposition to their agenda. Legalized drugs is in that as well. Comes primarily from the Judeo-Christian traditionalists.
Oh, that's amazing! That's amazing! So the conspiracy we apparently hatched up, us libs overall, is we're like, okay, how do we legalize pot? And make sure abortion remains legal, etc. Well, why don't we go after Santa? That's the most logical target. That is but the fact that they can even say that out loud shows the depth of their insanity. They really think that somebody saying Happy Holidays at Sears has something to do with abortion
and drugs
and gay rights. So it's literally unbelievable.
So, Jen, say Happy Holidays to me.
Happy Holidays.
Drug addict.
You know who I actually think is to blame? This is going to sound a little bit weird, but I think it's Jesus, actually.
Oh, it is?
He brought the cameras into our meetings, and TYT Underground's been revealing all of our secret plots that we're hatching.
Oh, right. That's where O'Reilly probably got his...
Probably. Yeah. He's a member.
So this Damn it, Jesus, don't tell him, man! And you know what? Next Easter, we are going to murder the Easter bunny and cook it up and eat it. Why? I'm trying to think of another outlandish liberal. Because we want to save the whales.
Yeah. But not with a gun, because we're anti-gun.
Because we're against, I think, offshore platform drilling.
That was a good one at the end there. Oh my God!
Absolutely.
I'm like, seriously, real quick. I'll go on this real quick. I'll start. The war on Christmas is bullshit. I have a playlist going right now. I already made like 2 or 3 videos on this, especially with the history of Christmas, the origins, the pagan winter solstice, and shit like that. But I mean, like, my own personal history is this: I grew up in a Catholic family. We celebrate Christmas. We didn't have to go to church, and we don't celebrate the birth of Jesus. A lot of Christians do. They have the right. They can do that. That's fine. But like. Like they say it here, is like when it comes to a government, like a state building or any kind of government public property, no, you can't just promote one specific religious viewpoint on the holiday, and that's where they're wrong. If they want, like, do I have a problem with them calling a Christmas tree? No, I really don't, because Christmas it's so secular right now in the United States, it's not even funny. You got it's like commercialized right now, where it's like consumerized, I should say, and it's just like. A lot of people really don't celebrate for the birth of Jesus, you know. My own personal view, like I said, I say Merry Christmas to everybody, or Happy Holidays. But when it comes to, like, say when you go to a store, they shouldn't say Merry Christmas to people, because if it's somebody that celebrates Hanukkah, it'll offend that person. They might not come back to the store. It depends how they take it. You know, so when you say Happy Holidays, it means for everybody. So, negation.
No, man, I'm exactly like you are. I mean, we've got our tree up. My kids love Santa. You know, my wife is just like Jank as far as, you know, everywhere we go, there's, I don't know. I mean, every car we have, every radio we have in the house is all Christmas music. And I would say she's probably been playing it since June. She loves Christmas music. And the big thing is that what I don't understand is how it's a war when everyone is supporting it. There's no one out there that is saying we should not get together, we should not go see our loved ones, we should not, you know, spread the goodwill that this time of the year brings. All we're saying is that the word Christmas carries a negative connotation to certain people. So to be nice to everyone, let's just say holidays. I don't understand why that is such a rub. And of course, if you're going to put something in a public place, let's make sure it's non-denominational. Why is that such a big deal? That's all I had on that. It's amazing to me. I think David probably will. You have anything, Dave?
I do have a few things. I just skipped at Stanford on A Heretic's Guide to Christmas. And one kind of blew me away about this was it used to be that there was a war on Christmas, and Christmas could get you killed in that war. And that was in England just before the English Civil War and during the English Civil War. When Cromwell took over, Christmas was actually outlawed, and people were actually killed in riots over Christmas. I mean, at midnight on Eve, they had town criers going, "No Christmas, no Christmas," walking the streets. So, and when the pilgrims here from Holland was super tolerant, and the pilgrims hated that, so they came over to this country where they'd had the freedom to harass people for practicing their own religions there. They made Christmas illegal too. So it kills me, especially to hear them say, "Oh, you know, we've gone away from the founding fathers, you know, who were all deists at best and were accused of being atheists by their political opponents." So they never broke for Christmas. They didn't celebrate Christmas for like the first 57 years of this country.
Correct.
And the Pilgrims, it was downright illegal, flat out illegal. So it just kills me to hear conservatives make up this imaginary mythological, Christmas war when there was real wars and it was caused by Christians. Yeah. So the irony of it all. And it's not even calling it Christmas or whatever that bugs me. It's this arrogant attitude that it must be Christmas for everyone.
Like, yeah.
It must be Christmas triumphant.
Yeah, it's Christmas. It's about the birth of Jesus. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just like, this is what it's for. It's like, no, dude. It's like, no.
Read true meaning of Christmas. The only thing it's about is that,
Exactly. And you actually reminded me of a couple of facts that I had forgotten about. If I'm getting my dates right, I believe Boston completely had it banned, for 20 years. I think it was
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was either it was the 16.
I think in the fall of the Massachusetts colony, it was illegal.
Yeah, and what's funny is that the other end of it is it wasn't even a civil holiday until the late 1800s. I mean, I believe it was like 1880 or something when and if the 25th happened to fall, it wasn't a weekend. The kids went to school.
Yep.
Yeah. So how much of a holiday was that? Founding fathers.
Yep.
Exactly.
For the first 60 or so years of this country, I think they only wound up taking a break for Christmas in those first 60 or 70 years. It wasn't until I think 1853 is when somebody decided to make it a national holiday.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly right.
And that was that's really when Christmas was invented, was through Charles Dickens, because he managed with Christmas Carol to revive this thing that had totally gone all flesh. You know, Christmas was just not what it is today, and hadn't been for generations until when he came along and brought that thing back to life. So Christmas, as we know it today, is a very Victorian revival of something that was a lot different, a lot wiggier, a lot more pagan, and a lot more widespread and variegated.
Yeah.
And again, it absolutely floors me that Fox, when it's a Second Amendment issue, they will scream from the rooftops like it's nuts. But when it's a First Amendment issue, oh hell no, or an Establishment Clause, oh of course not, no way, we're not going to even. Yeah,
that's ridiculous. A myth. That's a myth. Yeah. Almost as if making bullshit arguments just to stir up trouble. You know?
Exactly. There really is no First Amendment, and there's definitely not an Establishment Clause. That's just something we've invented, and that'll be the next thing.
Separation of church and state. Yeah, that's a total myth. Oh, and how much do you love that the guy who was in charge of propagating bullshit like this, David Barton, the quote-unquote historian, his book was so bad and so full of lies that his own publisher retracted it and called.
Yep, I heard that too, man. Oh, that was
hearing when I heard that. It was like, yes, finally there's some accountability.
Well, I actually figured it was going to go the other way. I figured it'd be on O'Reilly, and Fox would say that it's some conspiracy, that the left is trying to block him getting public, that it's going to be some freedom of speech issue, and we're now burning books. I mean,
it's amazing, man.
I wonder if they were afraid of opening that whole can of worms and finding out, well, why was he bunked, Oh, that's not true. Oh, that's not true,
Okay, wait here.
Yep, exactly.
For them to let that go quietly.
All right, guys, like I said, it's Fox's War on Christmas, supposed war on Christmas. It's their little thing they do every year for, since 2003, I think, so let them have it, whatever. If they want to do it for ratings, which they're probably doing it for, that's fine. So, looks like I already have one call set up for our call-in session, but after this break, Negation, we're going to go into the Skeptic of the Week, and we'll do that for 20 minutes, and we'll do a live call-in session, and we'll play the rest of the videos towards the end of the show if we have time. So I already have one guy.
And guys, if y'all don't want to appear, feel free to just private message me.
Correct.
Click on my name over there and send me a text if you've got any questions for David.
Yeah, a negation of P, that is, just in case people don't know who you are. Well, they should, since they're looking at the freaking screen. I was stupid. So it looks like this guy just messaged me. It looks like he's a theist that wants to come on as the first call, so I'll bring him in after the Skeptic of the Week. So we don't get too many theists calling, but it'll be a change of pace. So let's take a 2-minute break here, and we'll do the Skeptic of the Week with David Fitzgerald. I'll go over a little bio with him, and he has something to plug tonight, and we'll go over that because it's really I love the title that you have for the new book. It's awesome, and it sounds like a good series. So let's go take a break here for about 2 minutes. We'll be right back, and yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Skeptic Fence Show. Guys, everybody, thumbs up. Coming back for a second time here. Oh, shit, I have this all messed up, y'all. I can't do that. Ooh, I'm really screwed up here. I am not ready for this, which I should have been. Guys, thumbs up for our Skeptic of the Week. It's his second appearance here on the Skeptic Fence Show. David Fitzgerald. David, welcome, and thank you for coming again, man. I'm glad to have you, man.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here again.
Absolutely. Guys, I'm going to go over a quick bio if you don't know who David is. David Fitzgerald is a writer and public speaker who has been called both the Ferris Bueller of San Francisco and one of the busiest atheist activists in the Bay Area. He is the action coordinator for San Francisco Atheists and serves on the board of the Center for Inquiry San Francisco, co-founder and director of both the world's finest, or first, atheist film festival and San Francisco's oldest annual Darwin Day celebration, Evolution Palooza. He is on the Speakers Bureau of both the Secular Student Alliance and Center for Inquiry, and lectures around the country at universities and national secular events, including national conventions of American Atheists and the American Humanist Association, and an audience favorite at Skepticon. So, guys, I'm going to play a little 2-minute clip here of David in action as a speaker at Skepticon 4. So let's get to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to introduce my good friend and great speaker, David Fitzgerald, author of Nailed.
Yeah, awesome. Damn, Skepticon! I missed you too. You know, just to be fair, I gotta say, I'm imagining all you naked right now too.
I'll explain that later.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Before we get started, I just want to get this out of the way and give a brief hello to all the Christians out there watching this on YouTube 6 months from now. Hi, hey Christians. Now, I know last year, that talk, it was upsetting. I know, I get that. But beloveds, believe me, you are going to love this speech. So let me ask you guys, if all the major world religions got together and had a contest to see which was the singularly greatest, most well-documented, sheer, blatant pile of unflinching bullshit, who would win? Who would win? Who would win? These are all good answers. But today, I want to make a heartfelt appeal on behalf of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. Now, what can we say about the Mormons? What can we say about the Mormons? And before we get started too much...
That's good.
Now wait. Now, first of all, where are my Mormons in the house? I know you're out there. Can I hear it? Let me hear it. Ex-Mormons, that's what I mean. Yeah. I know you're there. We love you. Don't get me wrong. If you brought your cousins and your ex-wives out here, we love you guys too. We're just having a little talk. And here's the things we're talking about. Here's some fun facts about Mormonism. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints reports a worldwide membership of over 13 million. Every year, they send out over 50,000 Mormon missionaries across 162 countries, distributing materials in 93 languages. It claims to be the 4th largest religion in the United States and the 6th largest Christian denomination, which is interesting because most Christians don't think they're Christian at all.
All right, everybody, thumbs up again for David Fitzgerald. I will add that video link in the description box when I upload the video in the next day or two. David, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Anytime. First question I had actually was that. What did you mean by you imagine everybody naked?
Yeah. Yeah, they did a fundraising calendar that had nude pictures of most of the speakers, including me. So we walked in the door at Skeptic, me and my girlfriend, and about the first thing we see is these nude posters all over the place in the merchandise room. And if you've seen my profile pic on Facebook, that was taken from the same photo shoot, and that was the one I assumed and I expected they were going to go with. It's a picture of me in a kilt, with a sword, and I thought that was going to be the photo they ran with. But no, they ran with the naked Terminator pose picture instead. And so, yeah, everybody that year saw me naked, and pretty much every year since, everyone's walked in the door seeing me naked. But there's that.
Oh, that's awesome. Sorry, I was typing here on the people here. But yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty funny. Next one I have here is how long you been with? How long have you been part of Skepticon? And is there anything that distinguishes it different from other conferences you've been to, or anything like that, or conventions?
I've been with it since Skepticon 3. So this last year was my third year there. And I just have a blast there. I mean, I love all the conferences that I've ever been to. American Atheist, American Humanist, you name it. They're all terrific. But Skepticon, of all of them, it's student-run, student-organized, by students, for students, and that gives it a juice and a excitement and a vitality that is just unmatched. I just love it. Can't get enough of it. It's the highlight of my whole year.
I want to get there one time soon, man. It looks fun, man. I've been watching the videos lately, and I was just like, man, it looks like it's a fun time.
The they get out there are just friggin' brilliant. I mean, Richard Carrier, Jerry DeWitt, J.T. Eberhard, it just goes on and on and on. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I was looking over your pictures that people were tagging you in on Facebook, and yeah, it looked like a fun time, man. Cool people, it looks like, man. So yeah, looks fun, man.
It's not like some conference where the celebrities hang out in the green room and then they just pop out to make their talk and disappear again. I mean, everybody's out there. You can go up to Greta Christina and talk to her, face to face all the time throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. That's how the Reason Rally was. When I went to Reason Rally, I'm like, I talked to James Randi, Aaron Ryle, and all those guys, and everybody was just walking around, just talking to everybody, man. It was great. There's like debates going here with popular YouTubers and all that. It was great, man. It was just a great time. Were you at Reason Rally?
I would not.
Oh, that's great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But one question I want to ask you real quick, which you already know this, is do you celebrate Christmas, and how do you celebrate it?
That's funny. In theory, I do celebrate Christmas, but in actual fact, one of my day jobs is working as a veterinary tech. So Christmas time is one of my busiest times that I'm taking care of cats and dogs mostly, almost the entire time of Christmas. So, so it's one of those I do and I don't. But I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, there's no wrong way to celebrate the winter solstice. No matter how you do it, Hanukkah, Christmas, you name it. And that's one thing I'm quite adamant about. Is just there's no wrong way to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. My last question I have for you is, which we're going to go into right now, is do you have any new projects coming up, books, so on and so forth, any new events that you'll be speaking at anytime in the future?
I do. Let me start with a new project first, because I'm super excited about that, and it's getting launched as we speak. It's a new book series. It's called The Complete Heretic's Guide to Western Religion. And the first book in the series is The Mormon, and it's based directly off that talk you just heard a little clip from. That was like the sneak preview of the book.
That's sweet. Yeah, that's why I played it. Yeah, because we figured we'd go in that.
I really appreciate that. Yeah. Right now, I'm launching an Indiegogo campaign to get the book launched. Hopefully, very early in January, like the first of the year.
And real quick, here's the link to that Indiegogo site, guys. So here's the site, bookmark it, and if you guys want to help David out, go ahead and do so and check it out, man. He has a lot of really cool options on that. So there's the link. Go check it out. Sorry.
No worries. And actually, to be honest, it's a really sweet deal. It's a pre-order. It's not like we're just begging for money, but we are begging for money, in fact, because we need it. But you'll get the book. You'll get it cheaper. You'll get it autographed, and there's all these different levels of what do you call it? Incentives as well. And especially if you're a member of a group and you have a local group.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Levels, and you can get a sweet deal for speakers and books and such like that. If you're on Facebook, there's a Facebook page both for me and for the Complete Heretic's Guide to Western Religion. And please go check out both of those. Friend me, I'll friend you, and like the page. Tell your friends about it.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's a great deal, man. Yeah, I was reading over them today, man. That's awesome. I wish you all the best for it. Hopefully you should be able. Hopefully I'm going to promote it really hard. I'm going to really put it in the video really hard and try to get you some support on that. So
appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime, man.
gotta say, in all honesty, the book is pretty freaking awesome. It's kind of like part secret history of Mormonism, part these are the crazy things they really truly believe and don't always want to tell you that. Yeah. And it was a fun book to write. I like stop it. I had to put a stake through its heart to keep from writing it because once you write it, it just goes on and on and on. There's just so much. It's awesome.
That's funny as shit. That's all I got, Negation. I knew you have a couple for him, so go ahead. Floor is all yours. Unless you have
actually, that's a great segue. Going back to your book, we had a question from the chat. They want to know, is your book going to be as funny as your talk was? Because that was outstanding, man. I love that talk.
It's one of my favorite talks too. And yeah, the book is pretty damn funny. It's a lot more. There's a lot more. It's like that talk plus. It expands on almost everything I talk about in the talk. There's some bombshells. There's some. I'm working right now to make sure I have the rights to use the photographs that I want to use that show things like Joseph Smith writing in his own handwriting something the church says he never said, kind of thing. A couple of those. It's just once you read the book, you'll just be flabbergasted that this thing has ever managed to get as big as it is, And if you're ever worried is I'm getting too big and taking over the world, you won't feel that way after you read this book because all the smoking guns are out, Yeah,
actually, I've got to admit, when I first saw that, I was thinking you were setting up for Scientology. But
I'm actually a little scared. I think it's mafia with a Sunday school than an actual religion.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. They definitely go after people that hammer them, so you definitely want to watch yourself. So
that's another religion, quote unquote, that I'm kind of surprised they've gotten as far as they have because in the news, like for the last 2 or 3 years, all I hear about from Scientology is these high-level defections and these horror stories coming out. So it's like I'm not sure why they are all not indicted now, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. But if you go back, like actually the question I had for you, Christianity is just as bad. Look at, go ahead and jump into that. Look at Eusebius and.
Yeah, when you make fun of Mormonism, you got to remember that Christianity is no better shape when it comes to crazy nonsense. We all take it for granted that it makes sense because it's been pushed down our throat for 2,000 years. But yeah, it's just as crazy. Just as crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and this was actually from I think it was Skepticon 3, where you were talking about Eusebius and what happened there, and I don't think that gets nearly enough. I don't think people understand just how bad the documentation there is.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially when you talk about somebody like Eusebius. Eusebius was called the father of church history, the father of ecclesiastical history, and he's such a lying son of a bitch that everything we know basically about for the first 400 years of Christianity that come through the lens of Eusebius is already automatically suspect because he's quite happy to lie and change things around to suit political expediency. We know for sure that he had made changes to his official church history at least 5 times that we know of, that we caught him doing it to, keep up with church politics. And so it's ironic that the state of early Christianity is in the hands of somebody like Eusebius, who I argue is the guy who forged the Testimonium Flavinium.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The oldest reference to Jesus outside the Bible, and it's a complete fraud. I mean, there's just no two ways about it.
Well, what's so amazing to me is if you look at where he got his text, how he inherited his text, and the guy that had it before him, he criticized.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't want to go ahead.
Criticizes Josephus for not mentioning Jesus. That's like, wow, that's enough right there. Yep.
And then all of a sudden in your copy, not only does he mention him, but he calls him Christ, and I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah. And it's funny, it's not just even Origen who failed to mention it. It's that we've got like 16 different early church fathers who loved Josephus, loved researching it, reading it, citing from it, commenting on it. nobody ever got anything a wind of that until 300 years after Josephus wrote his book. So,
wow, yeah, it's crazy. So I mean, and what's amazing to me is if you talk to most believers, regardless, what denomination or even what faith, they don't read their own Holy Scripture, let alone the history of it. Yeah. So when you bring things like this up, it blows their mind.
Christian, I think. Yeah.
What's that?
I think it would have blown my mind as a Christian if I'd.
Oh yeah.
Right now.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you know my background. I went to Oral Roberts University for,
wow.
Oh yeah, exactly. You want to talk about? But of course, every class, including because my I guess field of study is physics, primarily with aviation as my whatever. But anyhow, even there, everything was contingent on God did it and all of this. But then you get into history, and it's just like you were saying, it is just so swayed that way, and how we know that the Bible is real. But once you actually go out and start looking at what, in my opinion, what the real scholars say about that time, it's crazy. It's just... And
12 years ago, it never even crossed my mind, the thought never occurred that there was no Jesus. And now, after researching it for over a decade, writing the book and stuff, there's just no freaking way there could have been even in my humble opinion. And it's funny what you were saying earlier. It's not the Christians who get upset about that bug me. It's the atheists who get upset about that really bug me, because I cannot believe how dogmatic some of our fellow atheists are about. Oh yeah, there was a. This is crazy crackpot, It's the equivalent of creationism, To
exactly.
It's like, dudes, I'm actually, as soon as I'm done with the Mormon book, my next book is going to be a follow-up to Nail called Jesus Mything in Action, where I'm just taking on the secular arguments, like from Bart Ehrman, arguing that there had to have been a Jesus, because nothing is further from the truth.
That will be outstanding. God, that definitely is something that I'll have that one flagged and highlighted probably from the front to the end. So yeah, I can't. That's right down my alley. I love stuff like that. So that's going to be really fun.
I'm going to try to make room in that to take on like some of the common atheist myths about Jesus that are just wrong, like where compare him to Horus and to Mithras and all those things. All those comparisons that get overblown and conflated. Need to be fixed. We need to dump the ones that just aren't true and based on like crazy crackpot scholarship and wishful thinking and
absolutely.
And it drives me crazy because ultimately the people who say that there was no Jesus and he was just like all these other savior gods, ultimately they're right. They're just that every argument they use to back that up isn't based on anything real. Like the guy
exactly
is a perfect example of that. So
yeah. Hey, going into your Skepticon and all your conferences, what do you, if you can, your favorite story? You were talking about kind of talking to atheists and believers alike. You got any little juicy tidbit that you kind of put above the rest that's a classic?
I think when I go speak at college campuses.
Sorry.
The things that stick out in my mind are when some crazy person in the audience goes off on some random Tourette syndrome rage, and that's happened twice.
Really?
Yeah, that's interesting. Fortunately, both times it's happened at the very beginning before the talk has even started, so it hasn't interrupted the talk. But that was a little weird.
So they're jumping up quoting scripture or calling you the devil, or
well, like in Illinois, jumped up and said, "This is revisionist history. This is bullshit. This is blah 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 blah." And I hadn't started speaking yet. I had not a word. They were still in the wrap up, and so yeah, it makes me sad because nobody wants to be crazy, and a lot of people out there are crazy. And it doesn't give me any pleasure to be the thing that triggers their mania. But
well, wow, yeah, absolutely.
These aren't Christians who do it. I get some really interesting Q&As from Christians because it turns out whenever I go on a campus, there's almost always some contingent of shiny, happy Campus Crusade for Christ types, and bless their hearts. Some of them I just adore. They're just their hearts are so big and wide, and they really don't understand. People wouldn't all want to be Christian because it's wonderful, and those I love to talk to. And then there's the other type, the snarky, Reverend Lovejoy wife types that just want to ask you all these gotcha questions. And
that's so true, though.
For entertaining and annoying at the same time, because that's exactly what they are.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, you think Obama's re-election is going to have any negative or positive influence, or do you think it's kind of beyond that at this point?
On skepticism itself or on atheism?
Yeah, pretty much just the movement in general, I guess. Skepticism in general.
Well, it's funny because it seems like the movement thrives when, like, ACLU and Americans Separate for Church and State, they do best when you have somebody like George Bush in the White House that scares the hell out of everybody. And, the reason people are out there is very clear that we need these organizations. When you have a president like Obama, I think people tend to relax and say, oh, okay, we don't need to worry about funding ACLU this year, and encourage everybody to keep, giving money to Freedom from Religion Foundation, renew your membership to American Atheists, Don't stop just because it seems good in politics right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love it if it turned out in the future. I agree that things are getting more progressive. I mean, that's the history of conservatism, is a history of them losing again and again and again and again. That's what conservatives do. They constantly are on the wrong side of history, the losing side, and they're all miffed about it. It would be awesome when the Obama we have, this first term Obama, would be like the far right, and we can have a whole political spectrum starting from there and going, arguing about real things, arguing about things that matter, climate change, like civil rights, equality, and not have to worry about crazy made up bullshit like the war on Christmas or the royal wedding, or baby, that kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Honey Boo Boo.
Honey Boo Boo. That's what our society fucking.
Absolutely. So, no, that's pretty much all I had. I got a couple from the audience. If you want to go down that way, or
pick the best one. We'll do one, then we'll take a break. Okay. And then I got my first caller lined up. And we'll do the live call-in session. I think it's a theist, which I'm almost positive it is. He has a couple questions he wants to answer. Good questions, so we'll do that.
Sounds great.
So yeah, do one more question for the crowd, and we'll do that.
Okay. Don't bug it. He had a question, and basically what he's doing is kind of kissing your ass pretty hard there, Dave. He's telling you, what's that?
That's okay.
Yeah, he's a regular. He's a regular on the show. He's been with us for at least with me for at least a year now. Don't bug. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He says he loves your speaking style, which I've got to admit I do too. You're hilarious on stage.
Yes.
But he's wanting to know, how do you come up there and seem so relaxed and just so funny and just up there talking to everybody? And then after you get done with that, when are you going to be speaking next? Because he wants to come see you.
First of all, I got to tell him thanks for that, and I love it. And it really warms my heart. Try to make my speeches as informative as I can, but as accessible as I can too, and as funny as I can. If I can make you laugh and think and blow your mind, I feel like I've done my job, and that's when I'm happiest in the world. I'm nervous as a motherfucker before I go on stage almost every single time, whether it's a big group or a small group. And in fact, it's funny, I think I get more nervous speaking to small groups now, because when you go and speak in front of 1,000 people, 500 people, whatever, at Skepticon, and they just erupt in applause when you walk on stage, that is a huge, huge rush. That is awesome. And so it really is instantly gratifying. Whereas if I go to a small group at a college and there's only maybe 20 people in the room, 50 people in the room, and no one wants to laugh first, everyone's kind of not sure if it's supposed to be funny or not. It's a whole different thing. you know.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, you definitely pull it off, man. I don't think there's anybody that would think you are nervous at all. You're really good at coming across as just, hey guys, we're here to talk. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I'm going for. So I'm really delighted to hear that, and that's why I go for it in my speaking voice of my book too. As conversational and entertaining as possible too. I'm always keeping my reading audience in mind as well. At least I hope to think so.
Yeah, that's what I eventually want to get into, like with my speeches and my philosophy and things that I've researched and stuff. I want to eventually get into speaking, but it's going to be many years before I start doing that. But I eventually want to do it. It looks fun, and it's pretty cool. It looks like Looks like you have a fun time doing it.
That's what I live for. That's what I live
great,
for.
Man. All right, let's take a break now. We'll take a 2-3 minute break, and I got my first caller lined up. So, guys, if you want to call in on the show, please contact me now. It's still a live call-in session. If not, we'll go into our other topics we're going to discuss. Live Life 8072. Make sure you send a contact request to me, and then that contact request, just write something in there. Atheism TV, if you want to come on, or any regular Trauma Logic, if you want to come on and talk about a few things, that's fine too. But yeah, guys, let's take a little quick break right now. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
Great.
Oh God, guys, we're featured right now. We're featured right now. If you want to come in and chat with the chatters, come on in. We talk about secular topics, or we're a secular forum. We talk about religion, politics, so on and so forth. Free thinking community. So hop on in. Sorry, I had to put that out there.
So let me just throw out one more quick thing really fast.
Yeah,
if you're in the Bay Area this week, one thing that's happening on Tuesday night, and negation, you got to come to this. It's the Ha Heathens or Holiday Heathens. It's Keith Lowell Jensen. He's an atheist comedian. He's friggin' hilarious. He's doing a show, bringing some other atheist comedians at the Punchline Tuesday night. You can find on my Facebook page. You can find details about it. You can find it on Keith Lowell Jensen's Facebook page, or you can check online. Just Google up Holiday Heathens and Bay Area Meetup, and the information's all out there. At the Punchline Tuesday night. You know, you'll love it. Be there. I'll see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great, man. I'll definitely. I'd have to make sure I can buy some time away from the wife and stick her with the kids at night. But I'm going to really push for that. I think I'm definitely. Right now, I'm saying I'm in. I'll put it that way.
Cool. So, that's awesome. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Keith is hilarious. He's. You guys sub to him? Do you know who he is on YouTube?
Keith who? What's his name?
Keith Lowell Jensen.
No, I'm not sorry. I'll check it out though.
Comedian. Hilarious. He put together a comedy troupe called the Coexist Comedy Troupe that had an atheist, a Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, a Hindu, and I forgot what else. And they had a problem about a year ago because the Christian turned atheist. So it's a great guy, great stuff.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah. Again, if you're in San Francisco, that's the place to be on Tuesday night. Punchline.
Punchline, I've got it. I actually just added it to my calendar, so now I've just got to get it by the wife.
David, I do have a serious question for you, though.
Yeah, dude.
My brother is one of those people who became a Christian late in life, like late 20s.
Yeah.
And it was all the stuff that that you've talked about, the stuff that you've refuted. Like the historicity of the Bible, the historical accounts of Jesus. As what are some of the books that he's given me to read that I've read through? But hang on a second, let me look in my closet. The case for Lee Strobel books, all The Case for a Creator, The Case for Faith.
Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, I know, and I try to convey that to him, but it's just I don't seem to be compelling to him. And I was just wondering from you, I mean, what in your experience, what is the most effective argument, that impacts Christians that buy into this?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, if you want to make a dent in any kind of Christian, they have to at least be intellectually open to the idea that they might be wrong. And that's a tall order for a lot of Christians. There's very few Christians that are even willing to admit on any level that the question, for starters. But one thing, and to be honest with you, I think most people are Christians for good, rational reasons that have nothing to do with Christianity being good or rational or true. They're there because it's a social network. They're there because they like the people. They're there because, it provides answers for them. They're there because they think it's true. And they don't want it to not be true. And so, there's no reason for them to go chipping away at their own doubts, because every Christian has doubts. Every single believer on the planet has doubts, or they're insane. And there may be plenty of both. But you just have to if they're throwing Lee Strobel at you, that is a book written by a Christian for Christians to convince Christians that they've got all the answers. It's not going to convince anybody else who's not a Christian. And there's been plenty of great books, like Lee Doherty wrote Challenging the Verdict, which just demolishes his book, The Case for Christ. I'm hoping my book, Nailed, kind of demolishes his case for a historical Jesus, too. But, I mean, the information is out there. All you have to do is get them to read it, and read it with an open mind. And until they get that open mind, I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them think,
I wouldn't ever live down kicking dark. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Marine Chat. Was that I'm live.
Okay, I have your book. I'm going to suggest to him, what was that other one you said too? There was Nailed, and then one before.
Paul Doherty, the guy who wrote The Jesus Puzzle, which is another awesome book. He wrote another book called Challenging the Verdict, where he just goes point by point and demolishes Lee Strobel's Case for Christ.
Okay.
It's a beautiful book. Yeah.
It's funny as shit.
Okay. The Jesus Puzzle is another one.
Yeah. Earl Doherty is one of those guys that I recommend everything that he does, because even when I don't agree with him, even when I think he may be wrong, he's still freaking brilliant. And it's like Richard Carey or Robert Price. It's like there's such a wealth of information that comes out of these guys that I'm just in awe. And like I feel like everything I've done has been standing on the shoulder of giants like those guys. When people ask me like what my historical credentials are and things like that, I tell them what they are, but really it doesn't matter, because none of this is new information. All of this stuff most biblical scholars have known about for over 200 years, and it's people like Robert Price and Richard Carrier and Earl Doherty who are outside the mainstream of biblical scholarship, that are able to have the freedom to throw stones at it, basically. Hector Avalos, I don't know if you guys have heard of Hector Avalos' book, The End of Biblical Studies. Hector Avalos is a biblical scholar who makes the argument that biblical studies are a friggin' joke, and we just need to do away with them because they're completely worthless, even for Christians.
What was his name again? Albert?
Hector Avalos.
Avalos, all right.
His book is In Biblical Studies, and once you read that, you realize what a shell game that biblical history and biblical studies and Jesus studies are. It's just a house of cards, and it's been that way since the beginning.
Yeah, it seems to me that it seems to me like it would be such a biased thing, biblical history. It's like there's so much at stake. They
absolutely. I mean, not only is their career at stake, but Christians, which means not only are they're dependent on this being for their eternal salvation. So it's like, how open are they going to be to the idea of examining whether he existed or not? Some of them probably think it's a sin even to think about that. You know.
You know, it's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Don't worry about it. Sorry about that. What I was going to say is, it's funny you would say that about how they think it's a sin to even question. I've got a little bit of an experience with this going to ORU and dealing with the history department there, and it came across exactly like that. That's where I first really started to question, and I ended up getting kicked out of there because of too many questions. But that's exactly what happens. Is I go in and legitimately have questions. Say, look, this isn't making sense to me. Can you tell me about? I ended up getting me and the other people that were, let's say, starting to lose our faith or whatever, however they classified us. We ended up having to go to the prayer tower, and
prayer tower.
Exactly, and get re-indoctrinated or whatever you want to call it, and and these people are just exactly what you were saying. As soon as you ask any type of questions, especially to a professor at a college that revolves around it, you might as well walk in and slap him in the face. It's infuriating to them. So, Dark Matter, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Wait, I was going to say, I don't know if it's the case anymore, but I know for a while, to even be on the staff of places like Oral Roberts and Bob Jones University, you had to sign a affidavit of faith that this is what you believe in, and you will always believe it, So
from what I understand, that is still how it is. At least at Oral Roberts and Southwestern Baptist University. I did a little research into them the other day, and they won't even let women on the staff at all. There is not one woman teaching, and you have to sign that declaration of faith or whatever they call it before you can ever step into a classroom at all.
One thing real quick I want to bring up the Dark Matter, I don't know if he's aware of it or seen the video on it, is that there's a really cool class that we're taking in negation. We're doing a study group every week on it, and it's 12 weeks long. It just started. I think you still enroll in it, but and David too also, is that it's called Think Again, How to Reason and Argue. By Duke University. It's free, and we did our first study group this week. It was amazing. People love it, and we have a lot of people from promoting it. I think we have about maybe 12 or 10 to 20 people probably taking it. We had a lot of good feedback on it, and it's really great, man. Like, the first 2 weeks are very simple, it seems like, but it seems like they're going to go into all the fallacies and stuff like that, how to reason, how to argue, premises, and they have the standard form, premises over conclusion, when your premises become a conclusion. It's good for debating, so it's good for stuff like that, and also speeches and the social aspect, like when you're going to buy a car or something like that. It's a really awesome course, man, and if you want, David and Dark Matter, I'll send you the links in the PM.
I'll go ahead and get what it is, guys. Just to be clear, I don't know if either one of y'all are familiar with Coursera. Have you heard of that at all? What it is it's a conglomeration of, I believe it's 45 universities now, and they're heavy hitters. They're Duke and Stanford, and some big colleges out there. And all the courses online are 100% free. They range everything from like what we're doing right now, basic 101 type stuff, all the way up through graduate level stuff. And like I said, it's free, and the spirit of it is just to get free education to the world. But what it's turning into is there's actually colleges out there that will even allow those courses to count toward a degree, so you get free stuff.
It's amazing. The lectures are all on video, and you can watch them like 7 to 15 minutes long, and you watch them, then you take the quizzes, and you take the quizzes, what's it called? Quizzes or tests, and then you take the quizzes. So, it's really awesome, man. I took 2 weeks already so far, and I think they just published the third week, so you can get ahead. It's only 3 to 5 hours a week, they said, but I think the first week only took me, they say 3 to 5 hours, I think it took me like 2.5 to 3 hours to do. And you could do it 2 weeks within like 1 day if you wanted to. And you get caught up really easy. But I'll forward you links to that. It's really cool, man. In the first 2 weeks, I learned a lot already. How to argue and reason, and they're going to go into all the fallacies and shit like that and break them all down. So it's really it's good information. So it's something definitely to check out.
That's something both atheists and Christians should be taking.
Absolutely, absolutely,
absolutely.
I agree.
Dark Matter, did you have something? I think I cut you off.
Oh no, that's okay. The main argument that I see all the time from theists arguing about that Jesus never existed. Is all right. There's a couple of things. One, no historian. All historians pretty much agree that Jesus existed. So, and then the other thing is, if we can't say Jesus existed, then we also can't say Alexander the Great or Hannibal existed. And those are the main two things I always see, that they post, like robots.
They do, and they just trumpet them as if they're facts, like Bill O'Reilly,
Yeah.
They say the big lie enough. Well, the funny thing is, I think the argument that no historians accept it, or few historians accept it, that's also the number one I get from atheists as well, who disagree with me. And that's the main reason I'm writing the follow-up to Nailed, Jesus Mything in Action, is because that's and explain what the dynamic is for why more historians don't agree with the Jesus myth. And actually, that's not even true, because there's an increasing number of historians who are jumping on board, and there's a bigger number who accept that Jesus was not who he is in the Bible, and that basically, if those secular historians are right, then the Jesus that they're talking about, the Christians are talking about, didn't exist either. They don't realize that half the historians, and all the historians really, who are doing the heavy lifting in biblical studies these days, none of them accept that Jesus was who the Christians say he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, even that's oversimplifying it, because in fact, when you talk to a biblical historian, a secular biblical historian, and ask him who Jesus was, you're going to get 16 different answers depending on which one you're talking to. And that's part of the problem, is that the real Jesus of history that secular historians are putting forward are just as hypothetical and just as variegated and different from each other as anything you get in Christianity, too.
Yeah.
A perfect example. I love Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman is one of my favorite biblical studies.
Yes.
And he's done so much to debunk crap that's in biblical studies.
Yeah.
And yet, he's a staunch non-mythicist, and his last book, Does Jesus Exist?, is so bad and so circular. Richard Carrier's book, Proving History, just demolishes it down the line. And it's a perfect example of the history field having these assumptions permeate it, and they just don't hold up. They demonstrably don't hold up.
No, they don't. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and that's going to change. It's going to change in our lifetime.
You think, Roy, our lifetime, really?
I literally do. I mean, it's coming. It's just coming to. The cracks are getting too strong to ignore. It's like the way
that's true too,
it didn't just show up when Darwin published his book. The cracks were showing up for a long time before then. And
you look at Copernicus and Galileo, and going as far back.
With deep time, the idea that the Earth has to be older than what we're saying it is. It cracks me up when I hear Christians talk
and also
about
not being flat like nephew over here.
What's that?
And also not being flat like nephew over here.
Yeah. It cracks me up when they talk about how evolutionists control science and they have locked out, Christianity, because in the old days, the opposite was true. Christianity ran the show and all the science served Christianity, and it was because Darwinism was triumphant over that steadily, consistently, again and again and again and again, that evolution has gotten to the point where it is, where it's just beyond reasonable doubt that has been well established. The same thing with Christ myth. Another funny thing is that evolution isn't as dangerous to Christianity as the Christ myth is. I mean, you can twist your Christianity and bend it to make room for both evolution and Christianity. You can't do that with Jesus myth. Jesus myth is kryptonite for Christianity, and you either accept it and you're not a Christian anymore, or you harumph it and don't want to. You can't countenance it for a second. There's just no two ways about it.
the thing that amazes me is that a lot of Christians, I mean, pretty much all of them will say that it's more probable, that a man came back to life and floated up into the sky than it being a myth, created by people. How the hell is that more probable?
Or the craziest thing you can think of, and there have been a lot of crazy things thought of, every single one of them is more probable than that official story of Christianity. Yeah. And when you see how many different versions of the official story of Christianity there are, and were, going all the way back to the beginning, then it gets double crazy, It's just a snicker bar. No matter which angle you go, no matter how you slice it, it just comes up nuts every single time.
I agree. Got a caller in here, ADT Clone. He's been on the show, I think, 1 or 2 times. ADT Clone, you want to talk about something about consciousness, right?
Yeah, sure. Hello, is everything
clear? Yeah, you sound good. Yep. Very clear.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, I've been reading a book for quite a while now, getting through it nice and slowly. It's called Consciousness Explained by Daniel Dennett, and it's quite old. It's about 20 years old, so the disclaimer is, of course, everything that is said in this book is 20 years old using old science, but nevertheless, it discusses a possible explanation for the evolution of consciousness, so how all the complexity of our brains could have formed, all these complex brain functions. And I think it's interesting to sort of just go through it with you, because often the argument is used, especially by Christians and other believers, that the brain is so complex, how could it have formed by evolution? So I guess I'll start. There's 3 factors. So the first factor is, of course, your natural selection. And that's essentially things that help a being to survive will get replicated into future reproductions of that being. And the argument is that, well, it's going to... But something as complex as the brain, natural selection doesn't have enough time to develop those complex brain functions. And that is true. I'd agree with that. But the primitive beings, when a brain initially formed, all it needed to do was distinguish very simple things, such as, is this a predator? Is this food? Am I in danger? Eventually a nervous system would develop, but all very simple things, and we actually have remnants of this in our modern brain, such as our sensitivity to vertical movement. I mean, now it's sort of redundant since we have skyscrapers and all these tall buildings, but back in the early days, if something was vertical, it was usually a predator, and we needed to detect that. Okay, so, and I'd agree when people say, how can natural selection explain the complex brain functions? Well, it can't really. This is when we come to the second part. I believe this is called Baldwin's effect. And the idea is it's based off the assumption that our brain is like plastic. We can wire it in different ways to do different things. And what Baldwin's effect says is it says that if let's just say there's a particular wiring in the brain that gives you a good trick or some favorable function, such as language or I don't know, emotions, maybe the emotion of happiness, particular wiring. And what Baldwin's effect says is that if the wiring, when you're born, if your genetics wires your brain closer to the good trick, then there's more probability that during your lifetime, plasticity will convert this brain into the good trick wiring. So, for example, let's just say we can represent the wiring of the brain as 10 digits. So, I don't know, A. Yeah. Okay? And let's just say when you're genetically born, you start off with a wiring of A, B. That's a lot closer if you just have all B's as your wiring. Okay, so if you're born with a closer wiring to the good trick, you will have more chance of developing into this good trick, and therefore through natural selection, that closer wiring would be put into our genes. So it explains things like how, well, when the question comes up, do we develop our language? Is our language innate? Are we able to communicate when we are born, and I'd say no, but I'd say the wiring is very close to that, allows us to communicate, and as we grow up, we create those connections, and it's a lot easier, and that has happened through evolution. And the third facet, which is an even faster process than the previous two, is meme selection. And, you know, memes are cultural ideas, and these days you have memes floating all over the internet. But essentially they're cultural ideas, and memes follow similar laws of selection as well, similar to natural selection, in that memes that can replicate are better at surviving. So, for example, if there's a meme which is very useful, then we're going, with the language, we're going to communicate that to other people, and this meme's going to replicate across to other people. Now, the downside is it doesn't necessarily have to be good for our survival. Things like faith. Faith is a meme. It's extremely good at replicating and convincing people that it's real. So, with these three sort of stages, we can develop complex functions in a short period of time, without the need for randomness as such. So I don't know. I find it quite interesting. It's an explanation. It's more philosophical. It may not be scientifically accurate. The assumptions it comes from science, but the point is, it's an explanation for how the complex functions of our brain could have evolved over time.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up, and I do love that study, and Daniel Dennett has done such an amazing job of that. He's got another book out that you may have read called Breaking the Spell, which talks about how religion co-ops these evolutionary modifications and survival mechanisms, and it just shows a real framework for why we think the crazy things we do. Some of them are because of evolutionary survival mechanisms, and some are by co-opted evolutionary survival mechanisms. So it's a brilliant study, and it fascinates me too. I'm really glad you brought that up.
Real quick, guys, let's do some kind of closing arguments. If you want to expand on that or add on what ADT Clone just stated, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. We got about 3 minutes left in the show. We're going to close at 10 o'clock. So, negation?
No, not much, man. I think tonight's been great. DPR screaming to get on, man. He's worried about dark matter tracking him down. I'm telling him that, you know.
Sorry, dark matter. DPR Jones said, "Yo, remove his ops privileges. I want to kick him again and fuck with him." I was like, "Oh shit."
No, just thanks again, guys. Really, and David, I'm going to try to get over there. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
Wait.
Dark matter. Oh, sorry, David. I hear you.
I didn't know what was going on because I'm on my phone right now and I'm at the airport. Hang on. Yeah, I want 2 tickets, please. Yeah, England.
England.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, England. Yes. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so fucking funny. DPR, you're done now, motherfucker. Oh, look at everybody. LOL. Yes, I'm at the airport right now. Yeah, 2 tickets to England. Oh my God, it's funny as shit. David, anything else you gotta say for the end?
Just one more quick plug for the new book.
Yeah, and I'll put the link out there again.
Yeah, please go there, help me out with the Indiegogo campaign, and get yourself a copy of that. And if you're in San Francisco this Tuesday, check out Keith Lowell Jensen and Holiday Heathens. It's going to be awesome at the Punchline.
Somebody just wrote DPR dead 2525. Oh shit, dude! It's funny, guys. There's a link for David's Indiegogo site. Please go support him as much whatever you give. He has a couple $5, $10, $25 things on there. Go support him for his new book, and it's your money will go to a good cause. And it's great because David does such great work, as we've noted here on the show. But I'm going to end the show now. ADT, thanks for coming out. Dark Matter, that was awesome, man. We set that up. That was sweet, funny, and that was great, man. David, we got you.
You so did.
Oh God, negation. Have fun in San Francisco, and hopefully you get out there and hang out with David. That'd be awesome. It'll be awesome as shit.
Absolutely.
So get out there, meet them, have a good drink, have a couple drinks with them, and have a good time, man. But yeah, enjoy your time in San Francisco, man. I'll see you when you get back next week. But guys, great show once again, guys. Thank you, guys. Guys, if it wasn't for you supporting the show and spreading the word, we wouldn't be doing this. So it's you, it's the fans that are making us do this every week. So we just do what we can do, and we'll tweak it here and there. So if you have any kind of ideas to make the show better, please hit me up. You guys know it. Live Life 8072 on YouTube. And Dark Matter, thanks again, man. That was great, man. You did a good job.
Thanks for inviting me.